Namaste to all. Ram Ram. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwarah, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste to all. Ram Ram. With Guru Kripa, we begin Bhagavad Gita, the 16th chapter, Shodashodhyayaha, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yogaha. Let's start with the first 5, maybe. Kalpagamji.
Namaste.
Namaste, Ram Ram. I think you've repeated before. Anybody else who has not repeated before who would like to try today? Anybody else? We've had the same set of like 4-5 people who have chanted again. Venkatraman.
Namaste, Bhagini.
Namaskar.
Shubhashayam.
Shubhashayam. Ram Ram Mahodaya. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Atha
Atha
Shodashodhyayaha.
Shodashodhyayaha.
Uttamam. Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yogaha.
Daivasura Sambad Vibhaga Yogaha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi.
Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhihi.
Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi.
Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi.
Vyavasthitihi.
Vyavasthitihi. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi.
Uttamam. Danam Damascha Yajnascha.
Dhanam Damasya Yajnasya.
Yajnascha.
Yajnasya. Dhanam Damasya Yajnasya.
At the end it is not sh. At the end it is ch.
Dhanam Damasya Yajnasya.
Damascha.
Yajnasya.
Swadhyayastapa Arjavam.
Swadhyaya stapa arjavam. Swadhyaya stapa arjavam.
Ekavarameva, just repeat once. Full line. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi.
Abhayam Sattva Samsuddhihi. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi.
Danam Damascha Yajnascha. Swadhyayastapa Arjavam.
Dhanam Damasya Yajnasya. Swadhyayastya Arjavam. Swadhyayastapa Arjavam.
Uttam. Ahimsa Satyamakkrodhaha.
Ahimsa Satyamakkrodhaha.
Tyaga Shantirapaishunam.
Tyaga Shanti Rapaishunam.
Daya Bhuteshvalo Luktvam.
Daya bhuteshvaloluptvam.
Mardavam hrira chapalam.
Margavam kshira chapalam.
Very good. Ahimsa satyamakrotha
Ahim,
full line.
ah,
Tyaga shantirapaishunam.
ahimsa satyamakrotah tyagakshantirapaishunam.
Daya bhuteshvalo luptvam. Mardavam hrira chapalam.
Daya bhutashvaloluptvam. Mardvam kshira chapalam.
Mardvam hrira cha. Mardavam hrira chapalam.
Madhravam kshira chapalam.
Mardravam illa. Mardavam.
Madhavam Krira Chapalam.
Very good.
Daya Bhutashval Loluptvam. Mardvam Krira Chapalam.
Mardavam.
Mardhavam Krira Chapalam.
Tejah kshamadhriti shaucham.
Tejakshamadriti Saucham.
Adroho nati manita.
Adroho Nati Manita.
Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Bhavanti. Anga, it's not dirgham. It is hrasvam. Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
And the T and sampadam chetu cholungo. Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Good. Abhijatasya bharata.
Abhijadasya Bharata.
Abhijatasya bharata.
Abhijatasya Bharata.
Full line. Tejah kshamadhriti shaucham. Adroho nati manita.
Tejakshamadriti Saucham.
Shaucham.
Saucham. Adroho Nati Manita.
Bhavanti sampadam daivim. Abhijatasya bharata.
Bhavanti Sampadam Dev.
Enna correction?
Bhavanti Sampadam.
Aha, நீங்க இன்னும் சொல்றது Bhavanti sampadam. You're elongating the T there.
Okay.
Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam.
Illa. You say the T and sampadam together, Mahodaya. அந்த இடத்துல வந்து Bhavanti sampadam daivim. That is wrong. When it is Bhavanti there, it becomes a strilinga. Anga Shatru Pratyaya vandrum. So that is wrong. Inga Bhavanti ngaradu plural of Latlakara. So it has to be Hrasvaha there. Bhavanti sampadam daivim.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
I'm still hearing a dirgha at the end. Bhavanti sampadam.
Bhavanti Sampadam.
Say the T and sampadam together. Apo there will be no break for you to elongate it there.
Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim.
Excellent. Abhijatasya bharata.
Abhijadasya Bharata.
Jadasya va?
Abhijadasya Bharata.
Abhijatasya bharata.
Abhijatasya Bharata.
Dambho darpo bhimanascha.
Dambho darbo bhimanascha.
Darbho illiyanga. What is that?
Dambo, sorry. Sameta. Dambo darbo Darbhobimanascha.
Uttamam. Krodha parushyameva cha.
Krodha parushyameva cha.
Anga krodha faka if
If
Ah.
krodha parushyameva cha.
Ajnanam cha bhijatasya.
Ajnanam chapi jadasya.
Cha bhijatasya.
Chapi jatasya.
Partha sampadamasurim.
Partha sampada masurim.
Masurim.
Partha sampada masurim.
Good. Dambho darpo bhimanascha. Krodha parushyameva cha.
No. Dambo darbo bimanascha. Krodha parushyameva cha.
Very good. Ajnanam cha bhijatasya. Partha sampadamasurim.
Ajnanam chabi jatasya. Partha sampada masurim.
Very good. Daivi sampad vimokshaya.
Daivi sambat vimokshaya.
Sampad vimokshaya.
Daivi sambat vimokshaya.
Sampad.
Sampad.
Hmm.
Daivi sambat vimokshaya.
Nibandhaya surimata.
Nibandaya suriya mata. Nibandaya suri mata.
Mashu cha sampadam daivim.
Ma chusha sampadam daivim.
Abhijatosi pandava.
Abhijatosi pandava.
Daivi sampad vimokshaya. Nibandhaya surimata.
Daivi sambat vimokshaya. Nibandaya suri mata.
Very good. Mashu cha sampadam daivim. Abhijatosi pandava.
Mashuchat sampadam daivim. Abhijatosi pandava.
Uttama Mahodaya. Uttama. Dhanyavada.
Dhanyavada.
Dhanyavada. Namaste, Ram Ram. Welcome back.
Namaste.
Namaste. Sixth one. Dvau bhuta sargo lokesmin.
Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin.
Daiva asura eva cha.
Devasura eva cha.
You can split it there for the chandas. Daiva asura eva cha.
Deva asura eva cha.
Daivo vistarashaf proktaha.
Devo vistarashah proktaha.
There is a vistarashaf proktaha.
It was not heard.
It was not heard.
Devo vistarashah proktaha.
Very good. Asuram partha me shrunu.
Asuram partha me shrunu.
Full line. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin. Daiva asura eva cha.
Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin. Deva asura eva cha.
Daivo vistarashaf proktaha. Asuram partha me shrunu.
Devau vistarashaf.
Daivo.
Devo vistarashaf proktaha. Asuram partha me shrunu.
Very good. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha.
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च
जनान विदुरासुराः
जनान विदुरासुराः
न शौचं नापि चाचारः
न शौचन्नापि चाचारः
न सत्यं तेषु विद्यते
न सत्यन्तेषु विद्यते
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च जनान विदुरासुराः
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च जनान विदुरासुराः
न शौचं नापि चाचारः न सत्यं तेषु विद्यते
न शौचन्नापि चाचारः न सत्यन्तेषु विद्यते
वेरी गुड असत्यमप्रतिष्ठं ते
असत्यन्मप्रतिष्ठन्ते
असत्यमप्रतिष्ठं ते
असत्यमप्रतिष्ठन्ते
जगदाहुरनीश्वरम्
जगदाहुरनीश्वरम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम्
किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्
किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्
वेरी गुड असत्यमप्रतिष्ठं ते जगदाहुरनीश्वरम्
असत्यमप्रतिष्ठन्ते जगदाहुरनीश्वरम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम् किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्
अपरस्परसम्भूतम् किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्
वेरी गुड एतां दृष्टिमवष्टभ्य
एतान् दृष्टिमवष्ट्यभ्य
एतां दृष्टिमवष्टभ्य
एतां दृष्टिमवष्ट्यभ्य
नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
बुद्धयः
बुद्धयः
नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
प्रभवन्त्युग प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः
प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः
क्षयाय
प्रभ
correct your
sorry
pronunciation was
sorry
right you want to do it one more time go ahead
yeah प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः
क्षयाय जगतो हिताः
क्षयाय जगतो हिताः
एतां दृष्टिमवष्टभ्य नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
एतां एतां दृष्टिमवष्ट्यभ्य नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः
प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः क्षयाय जगतो हिताः
प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः क्षयाय जगतो हिताः
करेक्ट वेरी गुड काममाश्रित्य दुष्पूरम्
काममाश्रित्य दुष्पूरम्
दम्भमानमदान्विताः
dambhamanamadānvitaha
Mohad grihitva sadgrahan.
mohat grihitva sangrahan
Sadgrahan.
sadgrahan
Pravartante shuchivrataha.
pravartante shuchitvrataha.
Very good. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadānvitaha.
Kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadānvitaha
Mohad grihitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivrataha.
mohat grihitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivrataha.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you for repeating.
Thank you for
Ram Ram.
listening. Ram
Ram Ram. Okay. So in the seventh one, the question is, it is na shaucham napi chacharah. So in general, there is a rule in chanting, even in the first line, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. Or you can do a parasavarna sandhi there. You can do pravrittin cha nivrittin cha. Pravrittin cha nivrittin cha. So there is a inj that will get added. Cha cha ja jha nya. So if there is a im anuswaraha, then the next one gets added. Similarly, na shaucham napi. So that will become na shauchan napi, because the nakaraha that is there belongs to the tavarga. So that im will become in there. Na shauchan napi chacharah. So, in whatever we have practiced till now, we have only tried telling the anuswaraha there. We don't apply the parasavarna sandhi there. But if you see any well-versed Sanskrit scholar, or even Swami Paramarthananda, to whom I listen, he will always say the parasavarna sandhi there. This is only because we are just starting. A lot of us here don't know Sanskritam. So it will be difficult to decide, okay, now pravrittim is there. Now in the next one, cha is there. So I have to say inj there. That becomes very challenging. Maybe in the next round with Guru Kripa, when, someday when we do a second round of Bhagavad Gita, for little bit deeper understanding, we will be able to focus a little more on the parasavarna pronunciation as well. So, if you look at the recordings that I post, it will be na shaucham napi chacharah. Because now otherwise when you chant, you have to think about what is the next varna, and you have to apply the corresponding anunasika varna there, aksharam there, which becomes challenging for beginners. That's all. Your chanting was perfect. Given that you're so much into Sanskritam. Okay, we will run through the 10 shlokas. Is there anybody who wants to chant try the 10 shlokas? Even for 4. What is 4? Mashuchas sampadam daivim. So there will be a in there that happens. Sampadam. So that will be sampadam daivim. So that is what you will see when really well-versed people, who automatically when they chant, they know. But when we chant, we generally say Mashuchas sampadam daivim. We split it that way. So this parasavarna sandhi for purna padas, it is optional. It is not compulsory. So I can say dharmam chara, or I can say dharman chara. Both are right. So we are doing the more novice form, where whatever the word is, we just recite the word. We don't do the sandhi there. Sandhi is nothing but joining of two words. In Tamil, we say serthirudhu. So that is what is sandhi in Sanskritam. So we don't we don't apply that there, because in Parasavarna Sandhihi, there is an option where you can either say Sampadam Daivim or you can say Sampadam Daivim. Both are correct. Now, when we practice chanting in a certain way, automatically when we see that Sampadam Daivim, will automatically we'll be able to chant there. Okay, so we'll do maybe two of them have volunteered, Saroja Auntie and Sandhya Bhagini. Let's try.
Shall I start, Pandit?
You can try 5, Auntie.
Okay. Om Sri Paramatmane Namaha Ata Shodashodhyayaha Daivasura Sampatti Bhaga Yogaha Sri Bhagawanuvacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Danam Tamascha Yajnascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyamatrodaha Tyagaschantirabhaishunam Rapaishunam Daya Bodheshvaro Lutvam
Daya, one more time. Daya
Bodheshvaro Lutvam
Daya
Bhuteshvalo Luttam
very good.
Mardavam Freerachapalam Jejakshamadriti Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata Dambo Darbo Bhimanascha Krodha Parushyameva cha Ajnanam chabhijatasya Partha Sampadamasurim Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandha Yasurimata Masuchas Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava.
Very good. Just focus a little bit on the Mahapranaha. Dambho, Darpo, Bhimanascha. Some places I was able to hear, some I was not able to hear. Focus just a little bit on Mahapranaha. Very nice. Sandhya Bhagini, 6th one.
Ismin Daiva Asura Eva cha Daivo Vistarashat Proktaha Asuram Partami. Okay. Proktaha Asuram Partame Shrunu Pravrutincha Nivritincha Janana Vidurasuraha Na shaucham na pichacharaha na satyam teshu vidyate asatyam apratishtam te jagadahuranishwaram aparasmara sambhutam kimanyat kamahaitukam Etam drishtimavashtabhya nashtatmanolpa buddhaya prabhavantyugrakarmanaha shayaya jagato hitaha kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadhanvitaha
Madhanvitaha. No, Mahapranaha.
Madhanvitaha. Alitrana.
Ama.
Madhanvitaha.
Correct.
Mohad grihitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchiv प्रवन्तेषु चिव्रता
Pravartan.
प्रवर्तन्तेषु चिव्रताः
Correct. Very good.
चिन्ताम्
Very good. We don't need that. Just focus on the Alpa Pranaha, Mahapranaha. There are places when where the Mahapranaha was not there, and I was hearing the Mahapranaha. Ad matram kod paathu. Ram Ram. Okay. Any doubts in pronunciation before we get into the meaning part? Shloka 2, first line. One second. Ahimsa satyama krodha tyaga shanti rapai shunam. Atra visargah nasti. Mayapi atra pustake drishtameva visargah bhavati va iti atra visargah nasti. Shloka number vadatu? Revati Bhagini? Navama shlokam va ekanish. Atra visargah nasti. Maya happy atra kleshaha anubhutaha. Atra, sorry, I also was thinking there will be a visargaha there. There is no visargaha in the 9th shloka. Shloka 10, second line. One second. Kama mashritya dushpuram dambha mana madanvitaha mohad grihitva sad grahan pravartante shuchivrataha. If you have the script that I had sent earlier, in that I think the nakaraha has been missed out. So when I was splitting the words there, I think the na I have left it out there. I added it again. Kama mashritya dushpuram dambha mana madanvitaha mohad grihitva sad grahan pravartante shuchivrataha. Okay. I think I've clarified everything. Shloka 2, Shloka 10 and 9. Okay. So this Adhyaha is titled Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. So the words are very pretty obvious what it means. Daiva, Asura, Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. So Daiva and Asura. Daiva is divine. Asura is demonic. Divine and demonic qualities and the separation of the two. How do we distinguish the two? So if we look at any spiritual path that one undertakes, the ultimate goal is, we all know, is to realize the supreme truth, the supreme reality. Now the realization of the supreme truth, realization of Bhagavan happens only when the divinity which is there inside us is realized. So if we look at it from the chapter of Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the sattvic nature that we want it to be predominant within ourselves, yet not relating ourselves to the gunas alone. So the in general, sattvic nature are supposed to be little more divine in nature. So when we look at, for example, a pandit or a scholar or a Vaidika who is extremely learned, who is a jnani, who is a Vaidika who does nitya anushtanams, the automatic thing that we say is, what tejas is there in his face, the brilliance that we experience when we look at that person. So that personifies divinity. So in this adhyaya, Krishna talks about the divine qualities and asuric qualities. How do you distinguish the two? What are some of the attributes that are considered to be divine, and what are some of the things that are considered to be not so divine or demonic? And ultimately, we all know some of these things are very obvious to us. So if we have a person in front of us who is a truth-speaking person and a person who lies, a lot, then we know the person who is a truth-speaking person is more considered to be more divine. He is in the path of righteousness. He is in the right path, the path that will aid him in realizing the supreme Brahman, the supreme reality, the path that will assist him, the path that will uplift him in Atma Vidya. On the other hand, the person who is a liar, who is not truthful, that person is the one who is deterring himself from even traveling along the spiritual path. It is not going to help him in any way. It is only going to make his situation worse and worse and give him another worse janma, because he is not exercising his free will to speak the truth. So in this Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, Bhagavan talks about the specific qualities that are associated with divinity and the exact opposite of divinity, which we can say is demonic quality. So that is what we are going to see in this chapter. The first few shlokas talk about the exact attributes. So we'll start with the shloka 1. Bhagavan starts saying, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. He says, Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Danam Damaha Cha Yajnaha Cha Swadhyayaha Tapaha Arjavam. So the first set of qualities, there are first 3 shlokas that are explained. We'll just go through one by one. In general, if you look at any of the Bhashyam's commentary, the 3 are kind of like combined together, because it is just listing of the attributes, listing of the qualities. What are some of the traits that we see in a person considered to be divine? The Daiva part of the Daivasura, Daiva. So he says Abhayam, which is fearlessness. So whenever we must have experienced this in our life many, many times, whenever there is a fear component in our actions, we don't think straight. The fear takes over, and even though we know something is right, it should be done a certain way, we tend to do the exact opposite. It is the fear component. For example, a child gets caught because of mischief. The child has done that mistake. The child knows it. But there is a fear component that the child experiences. If I tell the truth that I was the one who broke that bottle, then I will be punished. What will the person in front of me, either parents or teacher or principal, whoever that might be, what is the kind of punishment that I have to face? Will they reprimand me? In what way will they reprimand me? Will they appreciate the fact that I was being honest and let go of me, or will I have to pay for my actions? So the fear component sets in. When the fear component is there, very, very rarely we can actually act in an intelligent manner, in the right manner. And that fear component will go away in this path, right, that we are traveling, when we do 2 things. One is constantly associate ourselves with the Supreme. Whatever we do, if we understand the usual that we say, Ishwararpana Prasadha. So whatever we do it with Ishwararpana Buddhihi. We take whatever with Prasada Buddhihi, then the fear component goes away, because we are always, but the fear kicks in because we always have in our mind the consequence that we have to face. So that is one way to do it. The another way to look at it is complete Sharanagati, completely surrender ourselves, right? whatever happens. Now we go for, a lot of times the fear sets in for me, at least personally, it is health, be it myself or the loved ones around me, children. The number one fear that I experience is with respect to health. So somebody falls sick, you go for a test, and the test result could go either way, and we are all worried about what if the test, result is not in our favor. Now, surrendering there would mean that you give the driver's seat to to Bhagavan, to Guru, to Ishvara, to the universe, however you want to call it, and he will take care of driving the vehicle. So he will give us enough strength to deal with it, and we will accept whatever the consequence of the test result is. But it takes a lot of what I should say is that Sharanagati is one, the acceptance is another thing. So the bhaya that we experience in life deters us from doing the right thing. So that is why he says, he starts with abhayam. Don't fear at all. In Tamil, for Muruga, we say, no, yamirikka bhayamin. So when I am there, why do you have to fear? I will take care of you. Just like a mother would protect the child at all cost, I will take care of you. Similarly, Ishvara, Guru will take care of us. So that abhayam, the divine, the first quality is abhayam. Sattva samshuddhihi. Here, the purity of the heart. So the purity of the heart, what does it mean? It means that whatever we do, our intentions are very clean. The mind is in a purified form. We are not tempted to do things which are not according to dharma. So sattva samshuddhihi. So we possess that chitta shuddhi. The literal translation in Sanskritam would be chitta shuddhi, the purity of the mind. So the purity of the actions, the thoughts, the words, whatever we say. So that is the second quality. You would know that the actions, the words, and the thoughts performed, the said thought by such a divine person would be extremely pure. Jnana yoga vyavastitaha. Here, the yoga refers to the steadfastness. Steadfastness means always being connected to this path. So a classic example would be a mother. Like in my guru's class, this was the example that was given. If you think of a mother with a small child, even a mother with any child, for that example, like I remember when I used to live abroad and I used to call, anytime I call my mother, anytime, whatever time I call, whatever day I call, her first response would be, I was just thinking about you. So, which means that she's pretty much thinking about me like all the time. A mother who has a small child, or mother, sometimes even grown-up children, is constantly thinking about the child, right? We go out, we'll be thinking, is the child okay? Did she have her dinner? Or if she's not well, did the pain go away? So the constant connection with the thoughts that we have. So that is the steadfastness, the constant connection. For what? In the path to achieve that jnana, the constant thought of the supreme reality. Jnana yoga vyavastitihi. And then dhanam. Dhanam means doing charity. Here, charity here is a very loose term. So each one is capable of doing charity in a capacity and in a way that only they can do. So if say, for example, there is a maths teacher, the maths teacher can do charity by teaching maths for underprivileged children. If there is a person who is very good in art, we can't expect the art person to help a child do charity by giving by teaching math. So dhanam always comes with one's own capability. A rich person can probably donate wealth. A person who is knowledgeable, so we know a little bit of Sanskritam, we teach Sanskritam to people who don't know. We don't know, if you possess the skill for a particular art, you can teach for a few people who don't have awareness about that art, be it underprivileged or even Even if it is just gathering a bunch of people as a good satsang and teaching, that will also be considered to be charity. Of course, where you don't do it as a seva, kainkaryam. So danam, damaha is control of senses. Even when there is a lot of distractions that are there around us, the mind is always focused on what we want and strictly follows that path. Yajnaha. Yajnaha here is sacrifice. So the sacrifice can be simple things like the vairagyam that we can possess on some, for example, some anushtanams. Be it, on Ekadashi day, I will do such and such thing, or once a month, I will do this at a temple, or every day I will spend like half an hour chanting shlokas. It could be any kind of discipline that we follow. Yajna does not necessarily mean sacrificial homa here. It is more about sacrifices that we do. We do it in a steadfast way. And then swa adhyayaha, which is self-learning. So, which is the study of the Shastras. Tapaha, which is austerity. You follow certain practices. You do something according to your role, according to the Swadharma. And then Arjavam. Arjavam means straightforwardness. We present ourselves in a way who we are. We do not hold a sheet in front of us and project ourselves in a different way. What we are is in sync with what we say. What we are is sync with what people see us. We could be a really nasty person, but we can pretend to be like extremely nice. So that straightforwardness and being transparent and being honest. Each one of these have its own price to pay, but overall, these are some significant qualities. So fearlessness, the purity of the mind, the steadfastness in knowledge, charity to one's own capability, complete control of the senses, especially when there are a bunch of distractions around us, sacrifice in terms of certain things that we can give up on certain days or certain events that we can do, study of Shastra, austerity, following the Anushtanams and following the Swadharma, and then straightforwardness. So this comes the first set in first shloka. Now, in the second one, he talks about ahimsa. Very difficult to practice, ahimsa, which is, we in general, we say non-violence. Non-violence is not going into war and using weapons to fight. The non-violence can happen through thoughts. The non-violence can happen through physical abuse that can happen within our circle. So ahimsa, whatever happens, I will not have like violent thoughts or violent words or violent action. Satyam, truthfulness. Whatever happens, if I don't give in to that bhayam, a lot of times we say that lie because we are scared. So not giving into fear and sticking to satyam. Akrodaha, not having anger. A lot of what we have in our mind, the emotions that we go through, our reaction to situations, our reaction to people, less acceptance. A lot of this is a cyclic thing where it stems from some kind of anger. We say things that we don't mean. We do things that we don't mean. We sometimes wish for things that we can't accept. A lot of times we will be thinking, I wish, this happened. Because of the anger that we possess, we will be thinking, but if that probably happened, we won't be able to take it. And then tyagaha, which is renunciation, giving up stuff which is unwanted in our life. We all possess like so many things that we can give up. We are all attached to. It could be in terms of relationship. It could be in terms of materialistic stuff. So tyagaha, renunciation. Shantihi, the serenity that we possess. So not going into extreme emotions, extreme happiness, extreme sadness. very difficult. The roller coaster of emotions that we all experience in our day-to-day life. We wake up unhappy sometimes, and then as the day progresses, one person would have said something nice about us, and then the whole mood will change. We would have woken up, happy with a lot of gratitude. We'll feel like, okay, good, I'm going to have a good day today. And then one person would have said something hurtful, or we would have seen somebody do something unreasonable, and there would be a trigger. So we don't have that equanimity, that shanti, the serenity. And then shantihi apaishunam means not having, in general, the word means crookedness. So திருட்டு வழி in Tamil that we say, right? So we have a path, we want to circumvent that and then go through an unreasonable path, a path which is not according to dharma. And then even having crooked thoughts. We know some thought is not right, but we continue entertaining those thoughts in our mind. So apaishunam, daya, which is compassion, that comes in when we see Bhagavan in every shrishti. The daya, absence of daya just means that we don't see the divine within each of us. And then bhuteshu, in the beings, aloluptvam, being uncovered. So in a way, what we do, we are transparent to a certain extent, and we do it the right way. So from that daya, if we actually look at each of the qualities that Krishna has described here, we all know this. We all know that a person who is calm is preferred over a person who is extremely restless. We won't go near a person who all the time is violent with respect to words or actions or even thoughts, because sometimes these thoughts that we feel around people, it's extremely contagious. Especially, I always say with women, we have this thing. I don't know how many of you, most of you are women in the satsang. So when we see a man, I have told this to my girls too. Sometimes that person doesn't have to say anything explicitly, do anything explicitly, but our mind will just say, keep away from this person. It doesn't feel, for some reason, it doesn't feel right. So that kind of the gut feeling that we have. So that ahimsa, satyam, not being angry. We don't want to be associated with people who get angry for trivial things that don't demand anger. There are certain things which demand anger. Like for example, if somebody did something, say to my child, I will be angry about it. Either physical harm or something like that. I will be angry about it, and it has to be taken up with the authorities, and it has to be dealt with anger. If I'm just submissive there, saying that, yeah, it happens, we have to keep quiet, there is nothing you can do about it, then I am not standing up for the right. Sometimes that anger is warranted. So here he talks about aloluptvam, where the long list of desire that we have, always wanting stuff, either materialistic or wanting to do things, possessing that kind of jealousy in mind, where in Tamil there is a saying where they say potiki pulla pettukardu. Even it's a classic example of how one feels jealous, which means there are two sisters and they feel jealous about each other. One sister has like 2 children, and the other sister feels, hey, she has 2, I want to have 3. Now she gives birth to 3, and the other sister thinks she has 3, I want to have 4. without using proper judgment there, without the right thinking, deciding to have number of children based on what the other person has, simply because of jealousy. And then mardavam, which is gentleness. There is a saying in Sanskritam which says satyam bruyat priyam bruyat. Even when you say the truth, suppose there is a child that comes to you and it is wearing a dress, and the child says, "Amma, how do I look?" And for some reason, either the dress doesn't suit the child or dress is not appropriate for the occasion, conveying that to the child in a right way. You speak the truth, which is saying, I think you need a change of clothes, but that's saying it in a gentle way, where you can. Kalai nee mooda vendamma. Satham kekkuradhu. Where you can connect the right way. I think the difference between harshness and being gentle, when you say something gentle, there is a chance of being heard. And then hrihi, which is modesty, not thinking that I am the do it, know it all. I am beyond everything. So many of us have this thing where we all feel privileged. When we go to a place where there is a queue, people bypass and go to the front, thinking that I am no one to stand in a queue. I am such a big shot. There is no necessity for me to stand in a queue and do this. I can just walk up to the counter, bypass everybody, and then get my work done. That kind of arrogance that we all possess. And then achapalam, which means chapalam. In Tamil also we say sabalam, right? Chapalam means fickle-mindedness, which is always, it could be physical, where we are constantly fiddling with something, we are restless. It can be physical restlessness, or it can be mental restlessness, which is one moment we'll be thinking, another moment completely something which is completely different, irrelevant, completely unrelated to our thought process. How many times I personally have experienced this? I would be going to one room to the other to fetch something, be it a book or a stationery item or a food item or something like that. I would go there, stand in front of the cupboard and be wondering, what is it I came here for? And then I'll be standing there and then rewinding my thought process. So I was doing this and then that, I opened this window. Oh, I came here to get a copy of my Aadhaar. You will go, because your mind is so restless. I'm sure many of us have experienced that. The restlessness that we feel in our mind keeps constantly switching between thoughts. And instead of that, having a more calm and composed way of thinking, calm and composed way of controlling the mind. The next set, like I said, Shloka 3 also talks about the divine qualities. So, Tejaha, which is the vigor, the prakasham, the tejas somebody possesses. Tejaha, kshama, dhritihi, shaucham, adrohaha, na atimanita, bhavanti sampadam daivim abhijatasya bharata. So he is addressing Arjuna, saying that tejas, the tejaha, the prakasham, the vigor that one possesses. We are sometimes with people who have such contagious positive energy. You just spend 5 minutes with one person and you come back with a lot of energy that you experience after meeting them. So constantly, when there is a chance to meet such a person, we would want to meet. We would unknowingly, we would want to meet that person, because we feel rejuvenated because of the tejas, because of the contagious positive energy that they emanate. And then kshama, very difficult, which is forgiveness. Dhritihi, which is fortitude, having the mind which is completely devoid of laziness. You want to get some work done, you get it done without procrastinating, without giving excuses, without low energy, without thoughts that I am feeling low. It's ironical that we are actually discussing this chapter on a day when I have been telling my kids, for some reason I've been feeling low since morning, and they'll be like, what happened, Amma? And I've been telling them, maybe it's just work, maybe it's something else. But we have to constantly fight that. We don't have a constant flow of energy, both physical and mental. But then when we want to achieve something, giving the energy into the right stuff the right way, and completely devoting ourselves to it. Shaucham, which is pure thoughts. It could also be purity. Whatever we do, we always say he's such a pure person. He's transparent. We know that whatever he is thinking, doing are like clean actions. A lot of times, even when somebody helps us genuinely, right, there is always a question that antenna goes up in our mind. Why is this person doing this help for us? What is he expecting from us? Is he doing this because he wants something else in return? Or is he doing this so that some other day he would want us to do the same thing for that person? So that antenna goes up, right? And it goes up when we feel that the actions are not pure. They are not doing it out of love. They are doing it either because of obligation or because they want something. There is some kind of selfishness which is associated with that action. So pure actions. And then adroha. Here droha is hatred. The hatred or the negative emotion that we possess towards people that have hurt us. And a lot of times we are so judgmental. I've had conversations with friends, with children, where they say, for some reason, I don't like this person. For some reason, we have a new kid in our class, Amma, and then for some reason, I don't like her. I'm like, you don't even know that person. How can you form an opinion about that person when you have not interacted? She is just in. You need to give everybody a chance to show their nicety, to establish that relationship, for them to do the right thing. Even people who have faltered, it's because we don't have the capability of kshama, the forgiveness, right? Once they do a mistake, that's it, branded for life. It's very difficult for us to recover or let anybody else recover from that mistake. And that is something just because, it's very difficult to practice. Like, I know, especially with children, if you catch them saying a lie, with my children, this food, I was just telling my daughter yesterday that when she was very little, if I serve her a vegetable that she didn't like, she would just throw it out of the window, and she got caught. So it took me a while so whenever she has to finish the vegetable, she has to eat it in front of me, because it took me a while to recover from that mistake of hers, because she threw it once or twice. Every time I serve that vegetable, she is going to go throw it out. My antenna goes up. So I think the trust once lost is extremely difficult to gain back. But that does not mean we trust everybody, we make ourselves vulnerable, and then let us be cheated, taken advantage of. It doesn't mean that way. We still have to use our intellect to I won't say judge, to understand people, to distinguish between right and wrong. And then if somebody is doing something which is not right, keep ourselves away from it. So a recent example, I always go back to like real life examples, because that is what we can relate to. Recent example was, I know Chitra ma'am is in the meeting, but I'm going to say it. So my daughters had some sudden pop quiz or something in their class, and the teacher gave the quiz paper, and then she had to step out for a few minutes to get something else or talk to somebody or something like that. And then everybody in the class ended up copying for that quiz, because they hadn't prepared. Two, they didn't expect that there's going to be a quiz. And so my daughters came back and said, Amma, today we had this quiz and I didn't know anything. The whole class ended up copying, right? And I said, Apadiya, okay. And why you didn't know? You had already studied that lesson. And she said, no, the questions were from some other book and I didn't know. So those are all details. Next day morning, so that day I didn't tell them anything. The next day morning, when I was dropping them in school, I was having a conversation and I asked them, have you ever had this pressure of scoring first, or whatever you do, coming back home and telling me or Appa that you know everything in that question paper? They said, no, we've never had that pressure. You always say you study to your maximum effort, and then whatever happens in the exam, whatever marks you get is secondary. Then I asked them, what tempted you to copy yesterday? When you had that pop quiz that happened, there was no pressure for you to get 5 upon 5. That quiz was for 5 marks. You have no pressure. If you came back and told me or Appa, there was a quiz today, I didn't know anything, I got 0 in that, what would have happened? Appa would say, okay, fine, he doesn't even bother. I would say, why, you already studied the lesson. Now I think you have not studied it properly, you study it again. That's all will be the conversation between you and me. There will be no punishment, no reprimanding, no shaming, no calling good for nothing like that, no beatings. There are so many parents who still are very physical when it comes to marks and other things. So the reason why I'm saying this is understanding and first of all, we have to have that kind of clarity in thinking. When I'm quoting this example, I don't mean I'm a perfect parent at all. I falter all the time. But then at least in places where we can encourage children to be honest, encourage them to face the reality of what they are. I didn't know anything in the paper is an absolutely acceptable answer. Absolutely acceptable answer. Rather than saying, you know what, I got 5 out of 5, but I copied. So having that kind of clarity in thinking, that kind of acceptance, that kind of adhering ourselves to truthfulness is very, very important. And it is only this that the deviation from this path which leads to a lot of hatred between relationships. So if I as a mother punish the child, reprimand the child, shame the child, and the child is eventually going to develop that hatred. When my daughter asked me, what do you expect from me, Amma? What is one thing that I do will make you the happiest person in the world? I thought for a while and I told him, if you are honest with me, if whether I make a mistake or you make a mistake, you are honest with me, only that will give me maximum happiness. Even if you make a mistake, if you come and tell me without hiding, so that I don't get to hear about it from somebody else. Even if I make a mistake and you want to tell me that, Amma, you were wrong that day in making that statement, in doing that action, that is what will give them that honesty that they can display. It will prevent both of us from falling into the zone of hatredness. A lot of it comes because we are not given the space to be honest. We are not given the space to be truthful. We are not given the space to be free from fear. So if these are practiced, especially with children from a very young age, I think it will help them, at least give them a chance to be the Daiva, what Krishna says in this Adhyaya. So these are all baby steps. I falter all the time. I talk so much, but there are times when they don't complete the homework on time. I get angry and I yell at them saying that you had time to watch a movie yesterday and you have not done the homework, right? And I get angry. I know I should not get angry. I should just gently say what he says here. Whatever you say it with Priyam, right? Sometimes that Priyam is lost, but at least we are aware of it and we work towards it. So these 3 shlokas, I think we have to keep it in our mind again and again. What are some of the traits that we need to constantly focus on? And these are, trust me, these are the traits that are the most difficult to follow, that we can easily give up on and take the shortcut. That crookedness, crooked thinking, crookedness that he talked about, easily we can give 100 excuses to stay away from the list of traits that have been given here. And now he continues with the demonic traits. So he says dambaha, darpaha, abhimanaha cha, krodhaha, parushyam eva cha, ajnanam cha, abhijatasya, partha, sampadam, asurim. Asurim is nothing but associated with demons, the Rakshasa qualities that we have. What are some of those? Dambaha, talking about self and blowing our own trumpet all the time. So that is one. A lot of times when we have conversations, it is okay to talk about yourself as an example. For example, now I'm giving examples from my real life, and that is not dambaha. That is just examples that I'm hoping that the satsang can relate to. There are a lot of mothers with like little children, or even mothers with like children, right? So when I am able to give an example that my child made a mistake, and once it made a mistake, I always go back to that mistake. I always wonder, is my child doing the same thing? And it's very difficult for me to trust my child again. Or it could be a spouse, it could be parents, it could be friends, whoever it might be. So that is not dambaha. This is just an example. But on the other hand, we go into an unknown space, say for a meeting, say for a gathering, and then all of a sudden somebody there starts saying that, hey, you know what, I'm a PhD in math. I got this award, from the Delhi government. I've traveled to the US 5 times, completely sponsored. I didn't have to pay a fee. And every time I go in like business class. So that will be dambaha, where the gathering doesn't know you. The information that is conveyed to the gathered people there is irrelevant to them. Nobody is asking, what is your qualification? What do you benefit out of that qualification? What are some of the pleasures that you get from being a PhD in whatever the subject might be? So that would be dambaha. Darpaha means arrogance. The lack of kshama, the lack of daya, both of these can lead to arrogance, where when somebody asks something, we reply in a very arrogant way. And especially this would be for people whom we consider are beneath us, right? A manager would be with an employee. For us, it would be our helpers in the house. And sometimes even in the road, you would see, if we get into an argument on the road, the first sentence would be, na yaar therima, ya appa yaar therima, do you know who I am? That kind of like conversation, which is both dambaha and darpaha, the arrogance that we possess. And then abhimanaha, the self-conceit that one person has. Krodhaha, anger. So akrodhaha is daiva, and then krodhaha is asura. Parushyam, which is harshness, incapable of being gentle. The gentleness that one can one can see time and again, it does wonders. Unfortunately, that gentleness is very hard to practice. Then ajnanam, ignorance, not having the true jnanam. Abhijatasya, which is born out of these, Partha, O Arjuna, the state, which is asurim, which is not daiva, which is asura, asurik. What is the effect of the two traits? So you have daiva, asura, sampat, vibhagaha, the two types. What are the effects of these? So daivi, sampat, vimokshaya, nibandhaya, asuri, mata, ma shuchaha, sampadam, daivim, abhijataha, pandava. So from that divine quality, those divine trait, what do we get? Moksha. It completely helps us in sticking on to the path that we want to pursue, the goal that we want to achieve, Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya, the realization of the Supreme Parabrahman. On the other hand, all the demonic qualities which have been listed, it only ties us. It results in bondage, attachment, because we do not have the ability to cut. But he says, you don't worry about this. So at that moment, I'm sure if somebody comes and says, these are all like divine qualities, these are all like asuric qualities, we'll be wondering, oh, have I always been truthful? Do I always speak in a gentle way? Will I be classified as, Daiviga person or an asuric person? That kind of like mental question would be there. So Krishna, understanding that, addresses Arjuna. He says, don't worry, you are born with somebody who has divine qualities. So it's very evident from the fact that Arjuna, who is very much aware of Swadharma, who is very much aware of the duties of a Kshatriya, who is there right in the battlefield to fight for dharma, fight for right, fight for the truth. And of course, fight against the injustice that has been done to his family, including Draupadi. But he is there questioning whether it is right for me to fight against my own bandhu, my own guru, my own pitamaha. And will I rejoice that kind of kingdom which is completely soaked in blood? Say I win this war and the kingdom, I get that kingdom, the kingdom will be soaked in blood. Will I enjoy that kind of kingdom? So he is asking the right questions in terms of dharma, the dharmic question. So it's pretty evident that he has that Daiviga qualities. He is not the person who is adharmic, who does not stick to dharma. And then when we have this birth, there are two types of, pretty much, I would say it is a gray line. Given what we are today, some we can clearly classify, completely demonic in nature. Some people we claim to be like, divine in nature. As far as we know, that person speaks gently, says the truth, stands up for the right, does his swadharma, anushtanams, the right way. And then a lot of us fall in between. Like I always say, we are all bad in somebody else's books, right? Because the role that we play is so different. And you have to forgive me for quoting this example. In my experience in the past many years that I have interacted with people, the most demonic person who is always portrayed is, any guesses? In our close circle? No, it's not somebody who is unknown to us. In everybody's close circle, if there is one person who is Ama. So like Sri Vidya says, it's mother-in-law. You pick any person for that matter, and you start a conversation, it will always, most of the times, it will end up saying something about mother-in-law. And maybe I'm not a mother-in-law yet. So in that circle, it might be something about a daughter-in-law. Like she could be the most divine person that one knows, most sattvic person, truthful person who is actually gentle, right? And a lot of times even husbands fall into this category. That person might be greatest son, greatest brother, greatest father, greatest friend, greatest employee, but the wife might always have something to say about the husband. And similarly, maybe Yeah, I think husband with a wife, and I think sister-in-law also would fall into the category, or in general, I should just say like in-laws, right? So I think it is also from the perception of where we see the person and the role that person plays, right? So to the satsang here, I might be a good, truthful, gentle person, but if you ask somebody else, they might say, you know what, I can't stand these things about her. So there is also a perception that happens. So I think it is a very gray line, and it is also from with which glass you see. Unfortunately, that is the truth. But here Krishna says there are clearly two distinct type of people in the world. One is divine and the other is demonical. And he says, I have described the qualities of the divine people in detail. I've touched upon demonic qualities. I will describe it a little more. That is what he says in the 6th shloka. He says, Dvau bhuta sargau loke asmin daivaha asuraha eva cha. Daivaha vistarashaha proktaha asuram partha me shrunu. Shrunu means listen. In fact, I remember a conversation with my cousin many years back. I didn't have children at that time. I was married, didn't have children, and she had 2 boys. And she had a very tough relationship with mother-in-law. At least I know only her side. I don't know the mother-in-law's side, right? So she was saying that I hope that with my 2 boys, I don't become that mother-in-law, right? Because my husband always says that his mother has been the most wonderful lady whom he has ever met in his life. So helpful, so kind. Whoever comes home, she feeds them. She's so gentle. She's always ahead of people. Like, if somebody is going somewhere, she would pack something for them and give. And my husband always says my mother is such a wonderful person, and then she's so nasty towards me. And I remember this conversation, must have been like 2005, and my cousin was saying, I hope I don't become that person where I'm nice to the entire world, I'm so nasty to the daughter-in-law, because she has two sons. And she was saying that I hope I never become that person, that mother-in-law who is so nasty to the daughter-in-law. And sometimes it's the relationship and the expectations around relationships that causes us to fall into, even a Daivic person to fall into the demonic category. The role that we play, the expectations around relationship, and the control that we want to have over the relationship makes us do things that not per se fall into the Daiva qualities that are that I'm sure if you ask anybody who has been nasty to somebody else, they will not be proud about it. Any sane person would never be like proud about it. So yeah, I think the effort that we need to put here is to keep in mind that these are the divine qualities. I need to constantly work on being that person with these traits that are defined as divine traits. So he says there are two kinds of people, the Deva and Asura. I've explained in detail the Deva qualities, traits. I've also briefly touched upon the demonic ways. I'll describe that a little more in detail. And then in the 7th one, more about the Asuric qualities. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janaha na viduhu asuraha na shaucham na apicha acharaha na satyam teshu vidyate. What are some of the things that are very obvious in the non-divine people? They don't know what to do and what not to do. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. What is to be done, what is not to be done. They don't know. They don't have that kind of awareness. Who? Asuraha, the Asuric people. Na shaucham. They don't have purity in mind, action, thought. They don't have purity, and they also don't have acharaha, the right conduct, good conduct. Sheelam, they don't have that. There is no way you can see Satyam in them in terms of speaking the truth and in terms of being and showing who they actually are. The Asuric people in general will portray themselves to be completely somebody else, which is why we get duped, right? We think this person is X when the person is completely of different nature. So demonic qualities means they don't know what is right and wrong. Definitely their thoughts, actions, and words are not pure. They don't have good conduct, and we cannot expect truth from them. And why do they behave like this? Asatyam apratishtham te jagat ahuhu anishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama haitukam. So they say that the world does not have Ishvara. There is nobody called God. They feel that they are beyond everything else. They say the universe is asatyam, that it is unreal. Apratishtam, there is no moral basis at all. Na Ishwaram, there is no God. And how is this world created? It is simply created because of a union of male and female. It is simply because of lust that the entire universe is born. Practically, scientifically, procreation, yes, but they don't have the understanding that there is a power beyond all this, which is doing the creation, which is taking care of protection, which is removing the evil. They do not have that understanding, and even if they have the understanding, they will never accept it. So they would think that the universe and they are beyond God, beyond Ishvara. Everything is just a byproduct of karma, which is lust. Ninth one. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtat manaha alpabuddhayah prabhavanti ugrakarmanah kshayaya jagatah ahitaha. So what kind of people are they? Alpabuddhayah. Alpa means small-minded. Buddhi is mind. So we keep saying, no, in Tamil also, a lot of times when somebody asks something which we don't expect them to ask, we will say alpa. That alpa means small buddhi that they have. So having this kind of view, they are nothing but ruined people. Nashta atmanah. They are people who are already ruined. Why they are ruined? Because they don't have a vishala buddhi, which is capable of expanding the thoughts, which is capable of expanding and understanding, comprehending something which is not even visible to our eyes, which is the supreme reality. The alpa buddhi cannot fathom that. So they are kind of ruined souls. Prabhavanti. So what happens is they are constantly involving into ugra karmanaha. Ugra means opposite of shanti. Shanti is peace. Mind that is calm, gentle. Ugra means totally fierce. They always exhibit a lot of aggression in everything. So, kshayaya, what happens? They end up in destruction. Destruction of what? Jagatah, of the world. And they are the ahitaha. Hitam means welfare. Ahitam means somebody who doesn't think of our welfare. You can think of them as shatruhu, enemies. So they end up being the destructive enemies of the world. So the alpa buddhi that the asura people possess, because they give in to all the negative qualities. They don't have the capability to think. So I always keep saying the asuric is they. thinking that I'm hoping we all don't fall into that category. We are, because we are there in this line, we possess at least little bit of Daivic quality, which will qualify ourselves here and not there. So that's why I keep saying they. So Nashta Atmanaha, they are all ruined people. And then what other evil things are they capable of doing? Kamam ashritya dushpuram dambha mana mada anvitaha mohat grihitva asad grahan pravartante ashuchi vrataha. So they are filled with desires. Kamam ashritya. You give them something, now they want something else. It's the classic example. A person having a cycle wants a two-wheeler. The two-wheeler wants a car. A person wants an expensive car. Another person wants a sports car. Another person wants to own a chartered flight. So Kamam ashritya, they are never happy with what is given to them. Dushpuram, something which cannot be fulfilled. You can never make them happy. Damba, mana, mada, anvitaha. They are filled with hypocrisy, mada, pride, and anvitaha. They are arrogant. And moha grihitva, constantly holding to moham, the evil thoughts and ideas, which arises because of delusion. Pravatante, they are always stuck, and they are shuchi vrataha, they are impure. Shuchihi means pure. Whatever they do, it doesn't arise from the purity. It does not fall into something which is neat and clean and transparent. So he started off, I think this is also a very important chapter in terms of what we want to relate with. The list of qualities, Daiva Asura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. So the two types of people, Daiviga and Asurik. So what are some of the key traits or qualities of the divine people, and what are some of the qualities of the Asurik? And what happens when one possesses one versus the other? So the liberation that happens, the bondage that happens. So if we are more divine, then the chances of us getting moksha, that increases. If we are more asurik, then punarapi jananam, punarapi baranam. We are always drowning in the samsara sagara. And what are some of the byproduct or the effect or result of possessing these demonic qualities? They are always arrogant, they are deluded, and their thoughts are never pure. Completely into desires and worldly pleasures, materialistic stuff, whatever is given to them, the greatest blessing can be showered on them and they would still be unhappy. So, so that is what he has described in these 10 shlokas. We'll continue the chapter. This is also a relatively short chapter, I think 24 shlokas. We'll continue this. It'll be nice if each of us can list down some strong qualities that we possess and some qualities that we need to work on. So this can be a self-exercise that we do. In the first 3 shlokas, whatever he has given, these are the qualities that I'm fairly okay with, right? And we don't have to go back to childhood or times when we did not have that viveka. Maybe the last few years, whatever we have possessed, whatever we have changed, I was in a situation where I had to lie a lot. I was in a situation where I had a lot of fear. But now, because of whatever the change that has happened, I'm able to speak the truth. I'm almost like free from fear. So we can list the qualities that we feel we are kind of like, okay, we are not perfect. Nobody is expecting perfection here, but these are the qualities I'm okay with. But these are we might still be a very harsh person. We do not possess the capability to convey something in a gentle way. So that is something that I can work on. We are scared to present ourselves as we are. We always try to, present in a different way or act in a different way because we fear acceptance from people around us. But that is something that you can work on. Parimla ji has a doubt. Solunga Parimla ji.
Paribasharanam Vaniji. ஜி இப்போ நீங்க சொன்னீங்க இந்த டிவைன் குவாலிட்டிஸ் இருக்கிறவங்க எல்லாம் தெய்வீக தன்மை வாய்ந்தவர்கள், இந்த மாதிரி டெமனிக் குவாலிட்டிஸ் இருக்கிறவங்க எல்லாம் அந்த அசுரிக் சொன்னீங்க. பட் சம்டைம் இந்த மாதிரி பீப்புளை எப்படி கிளாசிஃபை பண்றது எனக்கு தெரியல. அதாவது அந்த ஒரு பர்சன் வந்து டிவைன் குவாலிட்டிஸோட பிஹேவ் பண்ணுவாங்க வித் தேர் ஓன் சர்க்கிள் ஆஃப் பீப்புள். பட் இப்போ சப்போஸ் நான் ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிளே சொல்லலாம். இப்போ என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட் இருக்காரு, அவரோட அப்பா கிட்ட வந்து அவர் என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா, எங்க அக்கால சொல்லுவாங்க, புண்டலீகன் மாதிரி அவங்க அப்பாவை அவர் பாத்துக்கிறாரு, இந்த மாதிரி யாருமே அப்பாவை பாத்துக்க மாட்டாங்க. பட் என்னோட அம்மா வந்தா கண்டுக்க கூட மாட்டாங்க. உங்க அம்மா சாப்பிட்டாங்களா, உங்க அம்மா போயிட்டாங்களா, அவங்க அம்மா வந்து ஸ்ட்ரோக் பேஷண்ட், உங்க அம்மாக்கு எப்படி இருக்க உடம்பு, டாக்டர் கூடி, அத மாதிரி எல்லாம் அவரு இன்னி 20 yearsல கேட்டதே கிடையாது என்ன. பட் நான் அப்படி கிடையாது. என்னோட மாமனாரே சொல்லுவாங்க, பரி வந்து என்ன அவ அம்மாவை எப்படி பாக்குறாளோ என்னையும் அப்படிதான் பாக்குறா. மத்தவங்க கிட்ட எல்லாம் சொல்லுவாரு, அவங்க என்கிட்ட சொல்லுவாங்க. எனக்கு அந்த குவாலிட்டி கிடையாது. பட் என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட் ஏன் இப்படி இருக்காரு, அவருக்கு அம்மா கிடையாது, எனக்கு அம்மா இருக்காங்க. பட் ஏன் இந்த இவ்வளவு சச்ச நைஸ் அண்ணா இருக்கும்போது நான் அவருக்கு வாழ்ந்து காமிக்கிறேன், நான் எப்படி ட்ரீட் பண்றேன் அவரோட அப்பா, என்னோட அம்மா நான் ஒரே மாதிரி தான் பாக்குறேன். பட் ஆனா ரீசன்ட் டேஸ் மணிஜி ஐ ஹேவ் டு டெல், எனக்கு இந்த குவாலிட்டிஸ் எல்லாம் நான் ஏன் வச்சுக்கணும், why I have to correct because I understand your question. அப்படின்னும் போது I am not feeling good about myself. I am not happy about myself because that is not my nature. Right. இவ்ளோ 20 years நான் வந்து வாழ்ந்து காமிச்சிருக்கேன். I treat everyone equally. அதனால என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட் வீட் சைடு everybody love me so much. But recent days as I understand people, I slowly நான் distance maintain பண்றேன். அந்த டிஸ்டன்ஸ் வந்து இப்போ என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட்னால அதை ஏத்துக்க முடியல. நான் முன்னாடி எப்படி இருந்தோனோ அதே மாதிரி தான் இப்படி இருக்கும். பட் he doesn't want to change. How to make understand him and what person him எனக்கு தெரியும்.
Okay, so the question is, just to summarize, there is a, when we as a person, we are able to display divine qualities with like certain people, but not so much with certain other people. Adhaan unga question, right? Okay, so with respect to the specific example that you have cited, where you are treating your husband's family as your family, but your husband is not treating your family as his family, right? That's the question you're asking. Now, because your husband is not treating your family as his family, now you're questioning it yourself as to why should I be the person who is displaying that kind of duty bound and treating the other family as your family. So two things, Parimalaji. So any relationship that we have, so let me tell you one thing, you're not alone. Okay, I can tell you this much. How many of us during conversations at various stages in our life have faced this. It could be between you and in-laws. It could be sometimes even within family. There could be one brother and two sisters. The brother acts very differently towards one sister and completely differently to another sister. Anybody like in such a situation? Okay, sometimes, okay, neenga illa, I'm just asking anybody else. So sometimes even mothers for that matter, you have a mother, two children, the mother acts very differently with two children, and you can see it, you can blatantly see that the mother is behaving very differently towards child 1 versus child 2. Okay, so there are a lot of factors that play here. Now, from Bhagavad Gita point of view, I will tell you only one thing. The only question that you have to answer every time an action is done: are you doing your Swadharma? The only question that we have to answer is, am I doing my Swadharma? If the Swadharma that we are doing is dependent on somebody else doing their Swadharma, then our thought is wrong. நான் சொல்றது உங்களுக்கு புரியுதா?
வாணிஜி, என்னோட ஸ்வதர்மா பண்றேன் வாணிஜி, but not with that heart and soul. போட்டு நான் இத்தனை வருஷம்
That's okay. It doesn't have to be 100%, right? So when sometimes when in relationships we want to do our Swadharma, but we also want to do it with love, right?
Yeah.
Especially in spousal relationship, especially with like parents, siblings, children, in-laws. We don't want to do everything based on Swadharma. There is a love and affection component there, which is so predominant, right? Now, if we have the capability to execute that Swadharma, exhibit that love, show the affection without expecting the same in return, then do it with that love. Do it with that affection. Do it in a way where you feel happy doing it for them. Okay. Now, if we are not capable of doing that, அதாவது நான் வந்து என் ஸ்வதர்மா பண்றேன், அன்போட பண்றேன், அரவணைப்போட பண்றேன், அவங்க என்ன எப்படி பண்ணாலும் எனக்கு அதை பத்தி கவலை இல்லை. If that is, அதுதான் உங்களோட தாட்டா இருந்ததுன்னா, then fine. Now, if that is bothering you, then it is okay to remove the love component from that, the affection component from that, and do whatever needs to be done from Swadharma point of view. It does not mean you stop doing stuff, right? You can reduce. Venuma vendama. In fact, I had this exact conversation with my guru. Okay, you keep saying you do the role as a wife, you do your Swadharma. I said, where is the Swadharma defined? Now, in a house, or a husband and wife are there. In fact, I gave, when I asked this question to my guru, I gave this example and I said, every morning we get up. For me, just making the coffee and is Swadharma according to me. என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட்க்கு வந்து அந்த காஃபியை பிரியமா வந்து கையில குடுத்தானா, then that is Swadharma for him, because இன்ன வரைக்கும் அவ அம்மா வந்து கையில தான் வந்து காஃபியை கொடுப்பா. Okay, so for me, if I just make that coffee for him, that is good enough for me. I feel that I have done my Swadharma. For him, that coffee has to be brought to his table. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying Raghu is expecting that. I just gave this example to my teacher. Then he said that truly depends on the relationship. And he said he was giving example from his own family. He said there are certain days when he will be studying and his room is in the first floor. Wife will come all the way to the first floor and say, coffee ettukongo. Okay, certain days when before he goes off, she will come and she will say, இன்னைக்கு coffee வந்து I will bring half an hour later. Sometimes she will say, I am really not feeling okay. Can you come at 7 o'clock and take your coffee? Come down and take your coffee. Okay, that truly depends on relationship. And it is all about expectation. Now, you can choose whether you want to be that person who is not displaying the basic humanity, right? Human nature, which is when you have somebody home, an elderly person home, acknowledging that person, taking care of that person, doing some basic things. If some other person was there, attending to their needs to an extent where you are capable of. Given that, I have a job to do, I do so many other things. Say my family expects that every time, all the 3 meals, I have to bring everything to the table by myself and serve every piece of, every morsel of food on table, put everything back and clean. Satyama nadakve nadakadu. Okay, according to them, that might be Swadharma. But given the various roles that I am doing, it doesn't permit me at all. Okay, so in my house, we have turns. Today, one person will come and keep on the table, one person will clean the kitchen. Today, one person will do this, another person will do, including my children, including my boy. We have turns. இன்னைக்கு வேதான் பண்ணனா நாளைக்கு வர்ஷினி, அடுத்த நாள் வர்தினி. ஒரு நாள் when I'm not feeling well, my husband will do. சொல்லவே வேண்டாம், he will just do. When when periods time liyo illa en kodam seriyilla, I have a migraine abdina, he will just look at me, he will go to the kitchen and he will do. Is he perfect? No. The kind of love that I give to him and the kind of love he displays towards me is completely different. It took me years to understand that we expect love from other people in a way we show. Ipa neenga vandu, when your husband's mother comes, you display your love for your husband. Why do you display it to your mother-in-law? Because you indirectly are displaying your love for your husband, இல்லையா? So அந்த ஹஸ்பண்ட் வரும்போது நீங்க அந்த mother-in-law பண்ணறது வந்து, நான் உங்க மேல வச்சிருக்கிற அன்பை தான் அந்த அம்மாக்கு காட்டுறேன் அப்படின்னு உங்க அத்தைக்கு காட்டுறேன் அப்படின்னு, that's how you display. Now your husband might be displaying that love in a completely different way. It may not be the same way, and we all expect love in return the exact way we show it, right? You might say this is a basic thing, I ask every time, he doesn't ask. But for him, I don't know, this is a question you have to answer for yourself, Parimalaji, which is he doing the role as a husband, in a good way?
இல்ல வாணிஜி, இத மாதிரி ஏன் வந்து அவ அப்பா கிட்ட மட்டும் அந்த டிவைன் குவாலிட்டிஸோட பிஹேவ் பண்ற, பட் வித் சம் அதர் பீப்புள் ஆர் த பீப்புள் வித்தின் உங்களோட சர்க்கிள் இல்லாதவங்க கிட்ட நீங்க ஏன் அது வந்து அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டிவைன் குவாலிட்டிஸோட இருக்க முடியல? பட் நான் என்னால இருக்க முடியுது இல்ல. பட்
that shows your ability to, that you're close to devoid of raga dvesham, right? You don't have strong likes and dislikes, probably because I am just guessing, I don't know you that well, enka ungaloda personal interaction kadiyadu. I just know that you are a person very connected to our roots, our tradition. You run classes, you read a lot, how much you have immense love for Krishna. You yourself teach Bhagavad Gita. So from what I know, I think you are a kind of person who is able to do this right now. If you tell me, then I will do something for somebody only if that person does something for me, then doesn't it completely defeat the purpose of Swadharma?
இல்ல வாணி, இல்ல நான் அதை எதிர்பார்க்க மாட்டேன். எனக்கு அவங்க இதை பண்ணாதான் நான் இதை ஹோல் ஹார்ட்டடா செய்வேன்லாம் கிடையாது. I do for every people.
I think your question, ஏன் பண்ண மாட்டேங்கறானா, because they don't have the understanding. Why is my husband incapable of doing it abdina? Your husband does not have the understanding, whoever it might be, husband, child, whoever it might be, right? Mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, our own brother, our own parents, they do not have the
இதே வந்து நான் அப்பாவுக்கு கவனிக்கிறதோ இல்ல ஏதாவது ஒரு விஷயம் குறைஞ்சாலோ அந்த ஹோல் ஹார்ட்டடா பண்ணலன்றது அவருக்கு இப்போ தெரியுது. பட் அதனால அது அவரால் புரிஞ்சுக்க முடியுது. அதனால என்கிட்ட வந்து கோவப்படுறது, ஒரு மாதிரி மிஸ்பிஹேவ் பண்றது, அவருக்கு அது புரியுறது இல்ல. என்னோட அப்பா என்னோட சிஸ்டர் நீ வெல்லா ட்ரீட் பண்ணேன்னா ஐ வில் பி ஹாப்பி. இப்ப நான் அந்த மாதிரி ட்ரீட் பண்ணல. ஜஸ்ட் நான் என் ஹஸ்பண்ட் கேட்டா நீ இன்னமா அப்போ மாதிரி இல்ல, நான் சொல்லிட்டேன் ஐ நீட் சம் டிஸ்டன்ஸ் பிகாஸ் எனக்கு டிஸ்ரெஸ்பெக்ட் எப்போ கிடைச்சிட்டோ நான் இப்படிதான் இருப்பேன். என்கிட்ட நிறைய எதிர்பார்ப்பு.
And that's okay if you feel that a certain relationship is causing a lot of disturbance in your mind. You do what you think is your Swadharma. That's it. If your husband is unhappy about it, so be it. Your job is not to do things 100% to please him, Parimalaji. If you think what you're doing is right, and you can clearly explain, na yen pannadilla, na idu panna, then you know what, this is the consequence I have to face, so I don't want to do it, and that's absolutely fine. The only thing that I would deter from thinking is that I will do something for somebody only if they do this for me.
இல்ல வாணிஜி, நான் அப்படியெல்லாம் யோசிச்சதே இல்லை இன்னைக்குமே.
Ah.
யாரா இருந்தாலுமே எனக்கு தெரியாதவங்க வந்தா கூட எனக்கு ஏதோ பல நாள் பழகுன மாதிரி அவங்கள விசாரிக்கிறது, பேசுறதுக்கு people started loving me. அந்த 5 செகண்ட் 5 நிமிஷத்துல they fall in love with me. அதை நான் பெருமைக்காகவே நான் சொல்ல மாட்டேன். பிகாஸ் ஐ லவ் எனக்கு மக்களோட பழகுறது, பேசுறது, எனக்கு என்ன அவங்களுக்கு what is disturbing them, நான் அவங்கள இருந்து அதை எப்படி கொண்டு வரலாம். I always think about how to help people. என்ன பணம் மூலமா, இல்ல என்னோட எஃபர்ட் மூலமா, இல்ல என்னோட நாலேஜ் மூலமா, டைம் மூலமா.
And that's fine, right? I'm sorry to interrupt, and that's fine. உங்களுக்கு வந்து what you think is valuable to you, what you think is valuable, the relationships around you might not be valuing that, Parimala ji, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, blessed are people who are around people who value them for what they are, right? If we are with people who don't value us for what we bring on the table, tough luck. You just have to accept it. As long as you are happy doing what you're doing. Or Michelle, let me just read. So a couple of people have messaged. Prepare good relationship. Do your duty. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I think expectation is a key here. Depends on his ego, correct? What he identifies with, Ilya, that is what is important. For you, bringing people into this Sanatana Dharma, teaching Bhagavad Gita and being nice to people and having a pleasing personality is important to you. That might not be in his top 3. So what do? It does not make your husband a bad person. முதல்ல நீங்க அதை புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். Just because what is priority to you is not priority to him does not make your husband a bad person. He's just different.
வாணிஜி, நான் பேட் பர்சன் நான் மீன் பண்ண வரல வாணிஜி.
இல்ல, I'm just saying a lot of times, no, I keep giving this example. A Rajini fan always says that Kamal fan is a bad person, right? We have that. And the differences of the healthy way handle panardu is very, very tough. Like, for example, I love going to temples. And if you ask me, like, wake me up from the dream, and like for my 45th last year, when my husband asked me, like, I think when I was 40 or something like that, one of the 45th, what would you want? Like, without blinking, I said, I want to go to Kashi. Without blinking. I didn't even think for a second. I said, I want to go to Kashi. That I didn't go last year was a different story. But for him, if you ask, he'll definitely not say Kashi. For his 45th, if I had asked him, what is it that you want? Definitely, my husband would not have said, I want to go to Kashi. And the top 5 and his top 5 are so different. So your question is, should I accept it? Appadina, that is a choice that you have to make. Why?
நான் அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறேன், என்னோட ஸ்வதர்மா பண்றேன் வாணிஜி. பட் ஆனா அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் நான் அந்த 18 இயர்ஸா பண்ண அந்த ஹார்ட் அண்ட் சோலோட என்னால இப்போ பண்ண முடியல. இப்போ
who said you should do it that way? You are a changed person. You are a reformed person. You are not the same Parimala who was there 20 years back, Ilya. So you're a changed person, and that's okay. Now, if he is unhappy about it, that's his problem. That is not your problem.
வாணிஜி, I'm unhappy about myself. நான் இப்படி இருக்கேன், நான் இப்படி இல்லையே முன்னாடி. பட் people around they changed me. இல்ல நானா மாறிக்கினேனா? Is that good? நான் பகவத் கீதா படிக்கதான் இப்படி மாறிட்டு, நான் படிக்காத போதே நான் நல்லா இருந்தேன்னா நான் இதெல்லாம் எடுத்துக்க மாட்டேன் பெருசா. 18 இயர்ஸா நான் பொறுத்துட்டேன். பட் ஆஃப்டர் திஸ் கோவிட் நிறைய சேஞ்சஸ், நிறைய இன்ட்ரோஸ்பெக்ஷன் நடக்கும் போது நான் மட்டும் ஏன் இப்படி இருக்கணும், நான் மட்டும் ஏன் பண்ண வேண்டாம் இல்ல பண்ணுவேன். பட் ஆனா அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு அன்பு, ஒரு அரவணைப்பு அதோட என்னால கொடுக்கவே முடியல வாணிஜி.
Okay, so let me take one step back, right? It's like one of the biggest learning from Gita, right? The biggest takeaway that we have is do your swadharma, but then do it without attachment, right?
Yeah.
So whenever there is a lot of love and affection, there is some component of attachment that is automatically there. It is very difficult, right? You to do something with a lot of love to for somebody and not do it without attachment. There is some bondage that happens there. So it could be that it is not because of the people around, or it very much possible that there are various factors, the experiences that you went through, the kind of situations that you were put in, right? Their reaction to it, your reaction to it. It could also very much be that it is the reading of these is making you do your swadharma without that attachment, which is a good thing, right?
Yes, Swamiji.
Right? நான் அன்னைக்கு பண்ண மாதிரி இன்னைக்கு நான் பண்ணல அப்படின்னா, isn't that evolution? That's what I think somebody has mentioned, saying that the mistake we do in life is to think that we are one and the same person, but we are not. We evolve spiritually. So when we evolve spiritually, then it is the byproduct is that we will do things differently. If we are exactly the same like we were 20 years back, then what is the purpose of the study? Right? So maybe that you are doing it, you are still doing your swadharma, but you are able to do it in a detached way. And the detachment, you are seeing it as absence of love.
Yes, Swamiji.
Very much possible, right? And as long as we are able to do something according to our conscience, right? That is all. நம்மளோட மனசாட்சிக்கு நம்ம அதான் சொல்றேன், என்னோட ஸ்வதர்மா cannot be according to Raghu's expectation. My swadharma can be according to my expectations, right? Now Raghu's expectations, if I have to keep meeting according to his swadharma, then I will end up being unhappy, right? Because very rarely two people's expectations are the same. Expectations and what we give is the same. So Raghu expect பண்ற மாதிரி நான் இருக்கணும், I have to do swadharmana na meet panina, then I will be torturing myself, right? So I can only deliver according to my capacity. This is what I bring to the relationship. This is what I do according to my swadharma. So you want to accept it, you accept it. You don't want to accept it and you're unhappy about it, that is your problem. That is not my problem. According to me, I am doing my role as a mother. I am doing a role as my as a wife. I am doing the right role as a daughter. I am doing the role according to my capacity as my daughter-in-law, and that's it. You have a sister, so a role as a sister. Adoda. Now everybody you have to fulfill according to what their expectation of swadharma appadina, then Parimala will be a completely unhappy person, because you cannot live a life that is according to their expectation. நேத்திக்கு வர்தினியோட நான் படிச்சுட்டு இருந்த போது படிக்கவே இல்ல, whole day படிக்கவே இல்ல. 6 o'clock she just woke up, she went, changed her dress and then walked away to badminton class. And then she came back to me and said, Amma, at night were you very upset that I left for badminton class instead of studying? I know the exams are coming and I should be studying. I didn't answer the question. And then night I told her, Vardhini, what you did was right. You might be okay getting 80% and going for the badminton class. Now, my expectation might be you should get 90%, skip the badminton class. At the end of the day, you should do what makes yourself happy, not me happy. Night 11 manik I told this to her. I was upset. I think it was not correct in terms of school work. அவ முடிக்கவே முடிக்காம பேட்மிண்டன் போனது தப்பு அப்படின்னு என்னோட ஒப்பீனியன். ஆனா போனதுதான் right, because that is what makes her happy, and she might be okay getting 80% and going to badminton class, and I have to accept that. my expectation, her role in life is not to satisfy my expectation. Her role in life is to do what makes her happy to a certain extent, right? Kids they need some kind of guidance, right? You can't you can't bring them up, right? You have to constantly prune them and hone them and help them grow.
Thank you, Anand.
I hope that that made sense. So the net takeaway that I have taken away in my life and I try to practice, I do according to my Swadharma definition of what I am capable of. If the people around me think I am a monkey that can climb a tree, but I am just a fish, I can only swim. Don't expect me, a fish, to climb a tree. That is not going to happen. எனக்கு நீந்ததான் தெரியும், நான் அதை கரெக்டா பண்ணுவேன். அந்த நீந்தறத whatever I can do, I will do that properly according to that. Of course will fall under the traits, right? The traits would be making sure that we don't give into laziness, we are honest, we are transparent, we speak the truth, we forgive people, we don't experience like extreme emotions. அதெல்லாம் மனசுல வச்சிட்டு if we are able to display, it is okay. Nobody is expecting perfection here, but you can only display. And when you change, the person the people around you accept me for the changed person, abdina, that is not your problem. Whether they accept you for the changed person you are is their problem. And like I think a couple of people have messaged in the group, like it is only inevitable that we spiritually evolve. When we spiritually evolve, we change. If we are able to do, I think a couple of people also want to speak. Unfortunately, we are way over time today. Hopefully another time. But yeah, I think we waste so much time because we are not capable of making somebody happy. We are not the way they want us to be, right?
Yeah, thank you, Anand.
Ram. Very, very, very valid question. I'm sure lot of us in that group will be able to relate to it in one way or the other. I myself, I can relate to it one way or the other. So very valid question. Thank you, Parimalaji, for asking. Astu. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om Tatsat. Dhanyavadaha. Ram Ram Mahaperiyava Sharanam.